Welcome to the Crazy Whacked Out Show, where I interview a bunch of pop culture personalities about the facets and peculiarities of pop culture. And with me today is none other than, if you're into comedy, you might have heard his name before. He's a very familiar face. If you've watched Ren and Stimpy, you'll recognize his voice. If you've watched Blank Man and Reign Over Me, you might have seen him. Please welcome none other than Harris P.
Thank you, Zach. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm
Good.
very do this, especially.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I am a lousy bum.
Come on, you could say it with more feeling than that.
You lousy bum.
You stick with me, kid, and one day you're gonna be big, even bigger than me.
You
You
can still
lousy.
do it.
That's right. And the reason I can still do it is 40 years of cigarettes and cheap bourbon.
That's the best way to go. What inspired you to get into the comedy circuit?
Stand-up comedy I was interested in as a young person. I would watch variety shows, and I was always compelled and fascinated by the comedians. And so when I was about 20 years old, I thought I would try that.
That's great. You never know what you're gonna bump into when you take a chance and what you want to achieve the most. And I'm glad that you persisted through it.
Well, Zach, always remember it's better to waste your life than do nothing with it at all.
Exactly. Exactly. If you're functioning, then at least you're pushing through. And I'm glad we did, because we wouldn't have gotten your amazing career without it. And
Yes. I
going
I owe my appearances on Ren and Stimpy to a comedian I knew who knew John Cristofalusi and insisted I make a demo tape for him. And John heard it and liked it and brought me in.
I was actually about to ask you about that. It
Yeah.
was, how did you land the gigs of Muddy and the Fire Chief among various others on the Ren and Stimpy show?
As I said, this comedian I knew John and insisted I make a tape. John heard the tape, called me in, and I did Muddy and the Fire Chief that day. I also he tried me out on Mr. Horse and the Gritty Kitty Salesman, but he didn't like what I did with those, so I didn't get to do them.
Oh yeah, and I think you were originally George Liquor before Michael Pataki got the role.
Yeah, yeah, I did it in Dog Show and I think another cartoon.
I think it was the Boy Who Cried Rat.
Whatever. And yeah, he was fun to do too. I mean, I think Dog Show is a pretty good cartoon.
Yep, it was. And well, what's your favorite line from the series?
I mean, that's hard to say. Um, in Rubber Nipple Salesman, I'm the walrus. Okay. So I say three words, and you know what those three words are.
Call the police.
Very good. I would say more Ren and Stimpy people will quote that line than anything else I ever said. But
Eric
a lot,
Andre,
a
you
lot of
that
cartoons. Go on.
Eric Andre, you know who Eric Andre is?
What?
A comedian who has a talk show on Adult Swim. He mentioned that it's his favorite line from the series.
Yeah,
Because
I once had a reporter tell me that her and her husband say it all the time when ever something goes wrong, they'll do that voice and say call the police. But a lot of my favorites are not episodes that people really talk about. In the House of Next Tuesday,
oh, that's a great one.
yeah,
That
I think it's a good cartoon, and they lower Kowalski down as a toilet seat warmer, but I also played the Italian chef in that one. And I remember them saying, "Can you do, an Italian chef?" And the line was, "Ooh, that smells so good. I think I'm gonna have to smell it again."
That was one of my favorite lines from the episode. How was work? How
And
was
I
work?
think I think that's my favorite line.
That's one of mine too. How was working with Bob Kemp, by the way, when the shift overturned?
Bob was good. Bob was a good director. Uh, you know, you had John, you had him, and I don't remember the other directors who I worked with. I feel bad about that, but it's so long ago. It's, Bob and John. I remember other people being there, and I remember the sound guy Charlie, but
Was
I wasn't there on a daily basis. They called me when they wanted me.
yeah. What about Richard Purcell and Vincent Waller and Jim Smith and
I, I can't
oh,
I can't
oh,
say much about them, only that I knew that everyone who worked there worked really hard to make the best cartoons possible.
oh yeah, a group effort. Bill Ray as well and Lynn Naylor and everybody. And Jan Kay was known to be a very demanding perfectionist. Any obstacles when recording in the audio booth?
Uh, you didn't get to the booth before he approved your voice, so you'd talk about it before you got in the booth. And yeah, he knew exactly what he wanted. And if you gave it to him, he was really, really happy. He was effusive in his praise. And when you didn't get it, he would be as frustrated as you would be, because, he heard the perfect voice in his head and he wanted you to reproduce that voice. So, what I would do with John, if he was frustrated with me, I would say, "How would you do it if you were doing it?" And then in my head, when I had to do it, I would try to duplicate his phrasing and cadence. And when you give people back what they just did and they hear it back in their head, it's my experience that they usually like it. But I really enjoyed working for and with John.
And was this was I mean, Bob was a much more lenient director. Obviously, how was working on him voice wise as well? Was he the voice
It,
director?
it was it was pretty straightforward. He told you what he wanted, and you spit out a voice, and he'd go, "Good, good." There are little tricks in animation you have to learn, like at the end of a sentence, to make your voice go higher. And it took me a little while to figure all that stuff out. But both of them were very patient with me, and both of them made me better than I was.
Yeah, that's that's really good to hear. And obviously, you've become a voice acting legend in many decades to come. A lot of people still quote your lines to this day.
Well, it's nice to know that when I'm dead and gone, at least I left behind those cartoons. None of the movies I ever did are any worth anything, or any television shows. But the cartoons will have a life beyond me, and that pleases me. Also,
In various movies like Rain Over Me and Black Man, how different was recording in the audio booth to actual acting, and which live action performance was your favorite?
uh, I have no live action favorites. People ask me, "Oh, what movies were you in?" And I tell them, "Oh, go look on IMDb." And they go, "No, no, tell me." And I say, "I'll tell you what. You go to a video store, find their rack of movies that cost $1. Grab 5 of them. I'm in 3 of them. Uh, it's When we did Ren and Stimpy, you were always in the booth by yourself. So it's not like you were with other people and they could screw up the recording by missing their line. If you got your line, that's all you had to worry about. And recording cartoons the way Ren and Stimpy did it, it went very quickly. So I like that. Movies are boring.
That's honestly very genial of you to say that Ren Stimpy's made such a mark on your career that it surpasses that, in your opinion, it surpasses everything that else that you've done.
Definitely, definitely.
When Ren and Stimpy was,
And it's the only thing I did that I take any pride in.
I, I'm pretty sure that the crew who worked on Ren and Stimpy, past and present, will be happy to say that. When Ren and Stimpy was revived as an adult cartoon for a brief time in the early 2000s, adult pirate cartoon, you briefly reprised your role as a fire chief.
Yes, I did.
Despite recording a few lines, how was it to have returned for the 2003 series compared to the original series?
Well, it was different and impersonal. I went to a studio and John directed me over the phone. So he
What,
wasn't even there.
where were you living at that point?
What was that?
Where were you living at that point?
I was in Los Angeles at that time. But he was in, I believe he was in Canada directing me anyway.
Well, so it was basically like he wasn't there personally.
No, he wasn't.
Was it fun to do again to get back into the booth?
Yeah, it's always fun to go back and do something that you don't think you were ever going to do again. That's what I take away from what I did a couple of weeks ago with the new cartoons. I never thought this was going to happen again. I live in Montana. I thought, that was all behind me. So it's good to do it again because I enjoy doing it. At first I thought, oh, I'll get paid, and then I'm
Then,
really
then
not
you're
that concerned.
really in the zone.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do something that you like doing and that you think that you're decent at. You know, it's no fun to do something that you're not good at. So I have a certain proficiency at doing these voices, and it makes me happy. It makes me happy that it makes other people happy. On the Ren and Stimpy sites online, people I don't know say nice things about me. I'm an old man. That thrills my heart.
You've impacted the world with such great characters as Money Musketeer, the Fire Chief, pretty much every character you've voiced in that series. They all mean a lot. You can tell.
Well, if other people enjoy them, it makes my heart soar like a hawk.
As you know, Ren and Stimpy is getting a reboot next year with Billy West had to return to his roles. Have you been asked back, or can you not say anything due to NDAs?
No, I don't believe there was anything about that. Yeah, they contacted me. They were kind enough to find me in Montana, and I recorded the fire chief and Kowalski a few weeks ago, and they told me there's an upcoming episode where Muddy is featured. So we're excited about that.
Yep. Is there a movie coming, or is it just a series?
What I was told is they got a deal for 12 half hours to be broadcast on Comedy Central and Paramount Plus.
Well, Ren and Stimpy's been on at least three different networks: Nickelodeon, Spike TV, and Comedy Central. So it's had like three lives on three different networks. I think it'll probably go to Paramount Plus. The new Beavis and Butthead also went to Paramount Plus, so they'll probably the new Ren and Stimpy might go to Paramount as well. We'll see. Uh, what do you want people to take from this interview?
My thanks and gratitude for the very, very loyal Ren and Snippy fans who have kept it alive for so long. To think that I first did that in 1991 and we're talking about it in 2022. Uh, So yeah, this series is really yours, all the fans, because you're the reason we're doing new ones. You're the reason they keep showing it. So yeah, I'm grateful for that, and it makes me happy.
It's a happy, happy, joy, joy moment.
Oh, it's beyond that. I don't have to put the helmet on to feel that joy.
Do you anything else you'd like to plug?
Uh, as a comedian over where you live, who's somewhat well known, you know who Rich Hall is?
Yeah, I do.
Him and I will be in Las Vegas at the Tropicana, January 17th through 23rd. And the other comedian on the bill will be the director of Blank Man and Reign Over Me, Mike Binder.
Great. I cannot wait. I bet our listeners cannot wait to hear that.
No, I'm sure they can wait.
Right. Thank you for the interview. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Okay, Zach, thanks.
And
I'm around. And when I get more information on the reboot, I'll let you know.
I that'd be great.
Great. Thanks. Talk to you soon.